Hello everyone, welcome to Living the Journey. My name is CJ Sanchez.
And I'm Jenna Coyette Harris.
And today we have Miss Marsha Terry. She wears many hats. She is mother, life coach, entrepreneur. We were like naming we were going on and on about the titles, right? So we'll let her dive into that in a little bit. But she is, right now we wanted to highlight her as founder of ViVa, right? And you as a beautiful person in our community making a huge impact. I want to dive right into it. I know we have a lot to talk about, and I want to start off by just telling us a little bit about who you are and evolving into where we are at today with ViVa.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for the opportunity to be able to share.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited, and as we were talking earlier this week, you bring about what you speak about. I know this has nothing to do with ViVa, but you know,
nothing and everything.
I was going to say no, but yes at the same
no
time.
And yes, right? But I'm just really glad to be here. So, but anyway, so I am a registered nurse by profession, the administrator at Terry Physical Therapy, and my husband, myself, and two other people, we co-founded Village in the Valley. Affectionately, we call it ViVa. In 2019. And it started because we all were connected. We've been connected for 20 years, all of us. But to another organization, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, had a very thriving chapter here in the area. And then unfortunately, it kind of just petered out. And we always were very reminiscent of how good and how impactful that organization was here in the Valley. And there was like a handful of Black people back then. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward, we kept talking about it over the years. You know, people have kids and you're taking care of your family, your business, whatever. And then one day we stopped talking. We met in the kitchen at my house around the island, and we're like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so we've since changed our mission statement. At the beginning, we had this idea, and now our mission statement is elevating the Black community while connecting cultures in the Rio Grande Valley. And so our desire really is to showcase Black culture, but also to showcase other cultures and really kind of teach people and show people how we all can live together in harmony. And even though we may be different in some things, we're very much the same in a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
That's so beautiful. And so aside from your involvement in NAACP, what was the other reason why you wanted to start this organization?
So, you know, the thing is, I'm Canadian, Black. My husband's from Virginia, Black. My friend Teresa, president, is also from Boston. And we all have children here. And so my kids go to school. And for the most part, they're the only person that looks like them, maybe in their classroom, could be in their whole entire school. And so where do you go? Where could we go where my children, her children, other people's children would see other kids that look like them? That was really our primary purpose. We're going to barbecue, hang out on the weekends, let the kids get to, you know, hang out and stuff like that. That was really the premise. So it was really about connecting families. There's a lot of interracial families here where the kids don't know where they belong and how they fit in. And so we wanted to create a place where kids felt safe. And where families felt safe, and where there was a sense of community when people came together, whether it was through food, music, church, or whatever it might be. So that's kind of really where it came from, is that desire to connect, to create community around families and children.
I love that. I know I've had the privilege of talking to you and getting to know you and getting to know the initiative behind that. And I know one of the things that stood out to me, why I wanted to have such an important conversation, we're in February, it's Black History Month, and when you were talking about it, I remember this was probably, a little over, maybe going on a year ago?
I think so.
Or like 8 to 9
months ago, maybe.
And one of the things was that, you wanted to, one of the other reasons was to immerse Black culture into the Valley and Valley culture, Hispanic culture, together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And bring awareness to both, because I think that while there is not, I think just these days it's just such a topic, right? It's everywhere. And I personally don't like that we don't talk about it because of something that's in the media, right? We're talking about it because it's important, because it's necessary. And having organizations like this down here, one of the things you mentioned, there's so many culturally black or black things down here that are part of history that we do not
There's so much
that we don't have awareness of, that we don't bring awareness to, not just for the culture, but in general. Like, we should know about these things, you know what I mean?
Not because it's black, or not because it's whatever,
it's part of our history.
Because it's another museum, or because it's another landmark space in the Valley. Like, we should know about it.
Yes.
Absolutely, and that's part of what you guys are bringing to light and bringing to the forefront.
Yes, there's several things that even I've become aware of living here. So through the NAACP, I became aware of, in Edinburgh, there is a black cemetery.
Wow.
And it dates back years. So Edinburgh, for years, has recognized Juneteenth, and there was a lot of work done to clean up the cemetery that's there. It's called Restlawn Cemetery. Mm-hmm. And so every year they go and they, pay respect to the people that were buried there. And now as Village in the Valley, we're an active part of that. But what we've done with Juneteenth is we've broadened it from just being an Edinburgh focus to including the whole entire Valley.
Yeah.
There is a site in McAllen. It's called Bethel Gardens now. It was the site of the first black church and school that was in McAllen, where kids were bused in from Brownsville and other areas to go to school in McAllen. And so what we've done in conjunction with the City of Mcallen, they've been incredibly supportive, is that whole space was not being taken care of, and there's going to be an event, people would go in and clean it up and then gone. So what we've done with the city, again, Mayor Darling has been so gracious, is we're now going to turn it into a park.
Oh, I love that.
And so it's going to be a space that is going to be a dedicated park where there's going to be, like landmarks, and people are going to know like why this piece of property is here. So we're really excited. Like, that's one of the things that we've helped to create here in our area.
For you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask. You mentioned the City of McAllen being receptive and helpful. How have other organizations and people received your ViVa?
So for the most part, we've not had anybody say, why are y'all doing that? We don't need that here. Everybody has been so welcoming. Like, when we talk about it to people, because when we started, we were like, we don't know how this is going to go, right? And we had our launch event, was at a restaurant, and there were 60 people that showed up.
Amazing.
Just word of mouth.
That's amazing.
No website, just a little thing on Facebook. We're like, okay, it seems like we're onto something. And everybody there was so excited to be there. And a lot of people weren't black. So that meant to us that this environment that we're in, the culture that we're in, they want to know more. Like, how can we help? How can we be a part of this? How can we share your vision and your mission with everybody else around us? So that's like very exciting for us, and that really gave us a lot of fuel to move forward with other things that we're doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna expand on that. How can we? Because I felt I'm impacted the same way, and I feel like it's something that it's just like everything else. You don't know what you don't know, right, until you find out and if you educate yourself. But there has to be that want. There has to be that we have to, and that's kind of what part of living the journey is. We want to create those conversations. We want to create that safe space of bringing things that, and most of the time, these conversations are not bad conversations. We're just not having them.
Well, it's just like you said. It's like you don't know what you don't know, and I think I learned that a lot this last year. That there's been more social injustice and things are coming to light, but it makes me question myself sometimes. Like, am I saying the right things? Am I asking the right questions? Am I doing enough? And I don't think I am, or I don't. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm excited about this conversation is because I want to do more. Just like CJ's saying, is how? Like, what can we do?
So when Black Lives Matter, because like at the forefront, and we were literally thrust into that, because that was not our, like I said, we just want to have some cookouts with the kids, right? But then Black Lives Matter and George Floyd happened, and we're like, okay, we got to say something. And so, and more importantly is people, the media were looking to talk to us. Like they were looking to talk to Black people here. Like, what is your experience? Have you experienced, racial inequities here in the Valley? And unfortunately, there has been. But nobody talks about it. Nobody knows about it. It's pushed under the rug, and it happens to one person, and they don't know where to go. So we really wanted to be able to provide this voice for the voiceless and give people an opportunity to share, what their experiences have been. Good, bad, and indifferent. My husband, if you ask him, he's had an amazing experience being here. Everybody's been so receptive to him being a Black person in the Valley. Other people, not so much. So it's very different. I'm Canadian. I have a whole different thought process on being Black in America. It's just different because I didn't grow up here, so I didn't understand a lot of things that my husband would talk about. But anyway, besides that, I have 2 Black boys. And so it's concerning for me when I see how Black people are being treated, north of here. I have to educate my children in a different kind of way for when they leave here. And so that's a part of Village in the Valley. That's not our focus, but we want people to know that we are here. We're professional people. We're about the community. We're about being involved in the community, and we're here to make a difference.
And I think one of the things too, and we slightly touched on this the other day that we were talking, but I think that, what you have here, it's a unique area, right? The Rio Grande Valley is such a unique area, and you say up north because it is a completely different, outside of any racial outlook on anything, but some people, they don't leave the valley, they haven't experienced a lot of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? I remember going to college, and still here in Texas, and I experienced what I now recognize as, some sort of form of racism or some sort of look down upon type of situation, and at the time I'm just like, no, okay, no big deal or whatever, and then it was just like, wait, no, that's not right. That's not right. And it wasn't until after college, and I moved back, and then I moved back to Austin and worked for lived there and worked for the state and experienced it first day of work, and at that point you all right, no, I you just know, people don't get exposed to those things, so they don't realize that certain things they say, certain things they do, certain just habits that you don't realize are maybe offensive to others, right? And so I think the idea of creating that conversation and expressing that sense of unity and community is just, it's necessary. And I think people want it. I think people want it down here on all levels.
And I think it starts with the children, right? So one of the things that we're working on, we have a committee which is purely focused on education, and we are trying to work with the McAllen ISD to bring education not only about Black history and culture, but more things about the culture and the experiences here, because kids grew up here and they don't know their history either. So we want to be able to create an opportunity for people to know Black history more than Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks, because there's more to Black history than that. I mean, those are amazing people, but there's more to it than that. But also, who are the historians that represent the area here?
Yes.
Children growing up here need to know that, so that you can be proud of who you are. And so when you do go away, you know who you are, and you're comfortable with asserting yourself because you don't have any shame.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
It's
true though. I don't know a lot of our own history. Valley history, influencers, not social media influencers.
Right. Over time.
That's different.
Leave that to us.
I'm on my way now.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
So what are some of the specific projects? You're working with McAllen ISD on the education side with the young kids. What are some other projects that you're working on in ViVa? So
another project that we're working on, it goes back to community policing. It's called the Illumination Project. And it's a big project. It was started in Charleston, South Carolina. If you remember, where the young man went into the church and just shot up the people in the church. Yeah. Okay. So after that was birthed the Illumination Project, to create some kind of dialogue and conversation between the people in the community and police officers. And so it's a an extensive process. The founder of the Illumination Project, his name is Jake Jacobs, and he's been working with us. He's an amazing individual, so that we can get ahead of those kind of situations and create community and dialogue between police officers and people living in the community. Because police may see things from a certain perspective, as we know.
Right.
And people living, in your neighborhood may see things from a certain perspective. So we want people to kind of be on the same page and have that conversation so that they can feel free if there's something that happened, like you can talk about it. So it's called the Illumination Project. We are looking for people to be a part of what we call the steering committee so that we can have a discussion there. It is starting in McAllen, but our goal is to bring it to all the different main cities in the county.
And how are you recruiting people to be a part of the project? It's
Dr. Gatling and I. We're kind of going out and we're talking. Yeah, we're having conversations. We've met with the mayors. We've met with all the mayors of McAllen, Edinburgh, Far, Mission. So they are aware of the project. We've had to scale it back in our approach because it became very overwhelming. So we're focusing on McAllen. And then we're going to broaden it out. So there's a whole process that's involved as a part of the Illumination Project. And so as we roll it out and we come to some completion, then we're going to move to Mission and then Edinburgh and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Very cool.
So that's one project. Black History Month is a big deal for us also. So we have different events that go on throughout the month for Black History. And a lot of this stuff, I'm not going to recite it all, but can be found on our website.
Which we'll be sure to link all your websites and Instagrams and all the social media so people can stay involved and see what they can do.
So a lot of everything we posted on Instagram. We're very active on Facebook and our website is updated very frequently. So if there's an event happening, everything is there. You kind of just got to choose what you want to go to and where you want to be at. Yeah.
I want to ask, that's a daunting task, right? To say that I'm gonna create all this awareness and I'm gonna do all this. What aside of the family, what drives you? What aside of the initial purpose, what keeps you? Obviously I know the reason, but I want to know. I want to get to know from you, what is the driving force?
I think I'm here. When I moved to the Valley, I was like, I could do this for about a year, and then I'm out. I ain't doing this, right? Because I didn't feel like I fit. So then I met my husband, and he's quite a sociable, outgoing kind of guy. And then we got married, and then he has a business. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going anywhere. So then, you kind of go through life, and even still, I was like, there's so many things that I don't have as a Black woman here. The biggest problem that Black women face is, where do you go to get your hair done? It's a problem.
That's true. Yeah. I never thought about that.
There's nowhere to go. And still to this day, there's nowhere to go.
So what do you do?
I go out of town. I go out of town.
Really?
I've gone out of town. Then we found somebody, and now she's gonna move, and so we're back to going out of town. It's insanity. So again, it's to create this community where when people come, because there are people moving here from outside the area. Most of my friends that are Black, of course, are not from here. So where do you get your hair done? Who's your doctor? Real estate. Where do your kids go to school? All kinds of stuff that, where do you go eat? Where's the barbershop? All these things that you're used to in Houston, you're used to in Boston, you're used to in other metros, they don't exist.
Yeah. Marsha, what's the motivation for the Black community moving down to the Valley? If they know there's no barber, or not there's not a barber, but there's no great hair salons for a Black woman to get her hair done. Yeah. Why are they coming?
Most because of work.
I love it, but why?
Yeah, because of work, whether they're in education or a lot of healthcare professionals. And so there's a lot of health disparities that exist here, and so it's people are recruited and they come and they stay.
I love that there's I don't know that it's a zero fear, but it's a willingness to let's try something different. Even though I know it may be a culture shock or there's not going to be a lot of people like me, I'm still willing to try, and people like you are making it a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very unique experience in Target, Walmart, H-E-B. You'll see somebody who's Black, they'll look at you, you look at them. and then they want to say something.
Right.
Like, it's happened to me countless times. I'm in Target in the aisle, this girl's like, hey, I'm like, hey, how are you? No problem. I know you're not from here. My name is this. And it happened to me when I moved here. Oh. I got phone number, call me. If you need something, I'm here to help you. Complete stranger.
Community, man. That's
We're
awesome.
friends to this day. So I feel like that was given to me. We want to be able to give that to other people that are coming here.
I love that. And so it's been how long that you've been in the Valley now?
20 years.
20 years.
I know, I can hardly believe it.
Can you call the Valley home?
It's home.
It's home.
My kids were born here.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's home.
And what would be your goal for ViVa in 5 years? Or vision?
To have a very a thriving membership. Definitely. We have about 130 members in our first year and some months. A thriving membership, to have active engagement from our members and to really be able to give back to the community. We're going to be having our first scholarship this year. So we really want to be able to serve the community in ways that they're not used to experiencing.
Absolutely. And anybody can join and be a part of ViVa?
It's exactly. So you don't have to be black.
Right.
You can be anybody from anywhere.
So I'm joining after this, right?
Okay, perfect.
I'm signing up after this is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Last question I have for you is, what do you think our community needs to know about ViVa, about black people in the Valley, about just anything that you think you didn't cover?
I think that, there may be some fears that people have. My son's trying to call, but it's okay. There may be some fears that people have because of Black Lives Matter, and they don't understand how to have a conversation. And I think that, ViVa is an opportunity for people to get to know black people on a personal level and have those conversations and not fear that, I can't say, because we know for the most part, people don't know. And so we want to be able to have those conversations that are uncomfortable, like we talked about before, but also to, for people just to feel like I can say it, I don't look stupid, if you will, but I just want to be able to talk about it, and then we figure out how we can build and move on and, just live in harmony.
I love that, because like you mentioned, and I go back to saying the conversations that are uncomfortable, because they're not necessarily uncomfortable. I want to know, right? I want to know if I'm doing something offensive. I want to know that if this whole time, just like, I have friends that will say things that they're not Hispanic, and you're like, back, maybe it didn't even bother me because I wasn't educated in the fact that was something offensive, and then now it's just like, I just want to correct you.
Sure, of course.
And you want to be able to you want to be able to just say that and know, like, just don't do that to somebody else, or say that, not because it's going to bother me, but because you want just to avoid that and stop it somewhere, right? Because if not, then it just continues.
Yeah, it just continues.
I don't know if you recall, and I don't know if I should have probably asked this off camera, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. I know when we last talked, you made an analogy. I was trying to explain to Jenna the other day about being in a neighborhood and the house being on fire.
Yes.
And a conversation, and how we don't that's kind of avoiding the conversations. Can you do you remember that?
Of course.
Yeah. Can you share that, because I think that made a huge impact to me, and it stands out in that conversation we had, and I didn't realize how much of, like, when he said that, I was just like, wow.
Oh, that really hit you. So I know it goes back to Black Lives Matter, and people are like, why do Black Lives matter? All lives matters, which they do. I'm not here to say that they don't, but it is almost like, as I was telling CJ, you're in a neighborhood and the house is on fire. Doesn't mean that the other houses in your neighborhood don't matter. They all matter. But that house, we need to put the fire out. So what are you going to do? You're going to call the fire department. Everybody's going to come with their buckets, and we're going to put the fire out. And to me, despite the political stuff of Black Lives Matter, because there is political undertones there, that is really what it's out. This house has been on fire for years, 400 years. And nobody is saying anything. Nobody's done anything about it. Now people are starting to say, yeah, this can't go on anymore. And so it's time to put the fire out. And putting the fire out is those uncomfortable conversations. People are going to get hurt in the process. It's not because you want people to be hurt, but it's a part of change. I mean, if you go back to Martin Luther King and what they experienced, people died for change. People died so that you and I could go to school, our kids could go to school and sit together. So I could go into a store and not feel like somebody's going to kick me out. People died for that.
Yeah.
And so these things are happening. Maybe people aren't dying like, because you're going into a store, but maybe they are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It puts it kind of, when I heard that, it just kind of.
CJ tried to explain it to me not as eloquently.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't.
But he's not Canadian. He don't know.
And I said, when I was telling you, I was like, I'm not even going to try.
And it impacted me.
I was like, I'm not even going to try it now because it's not going to have the same effect. I was like, so I just know that there's an analogy that I'm going to have her talk about, but, we'll go from there. But it stood out to me, and it hits just as hard when you say it today. And I'm so grateful that you are here. And
I'm happy to be here.
You're in the Valley, and that you're creating Village in the Valley. And ViVa is something that is on the thrive. You guys you were sharing with us how on the go you all have been and the strides you all are making in a short period of time. And what a blessing, right? To be able to have that platform and to create that time for yourselves and your board and just going from literally 0 to 100. And so thank you for that, and thank you for the strides that you're making in our community, because we need it. And anytime you want to have that conversation with us, our door's always open.
Yes, whatever we can do to further the cause.
Become a member.
Absolutely. Done. Signing up after this.
It's not that much. It's like $25 for a single person and $45 for a couple. There's a business membership. It's $150. It's not that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
Really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your authenticity.
Oh, thank you.
And everything that you're doing in the community, and we're going to continue to support it, to be aware, and to use our space as a place to share these messages and to educate others.
Absolutely.
So, guys, we want to thank you for joining. We're going to link all of Miss Marsha and ViVa's information in the show notes. So please go check it out. Be aware, participate, don't be afraid, start conversations. I mean, this is all so that we can learn and so that we can grow together.
Absolutely.
If you're not following us on YouTube, you can find us on Living the Journey RGV, and also on Instagram and on Facebook. Did I get them all?
You got them all.
Okay.
We're good.
All right, guys.
So many.
We'll see you for another episode next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.